Hey, and welcome to the station. We talk trains, truth, and life. In this edition, we're traveling along the St. Clair River. We have 3 small stops: Port Lambton, Sombra, and Courtright. Welcome to the station. Rails, River, and Rum Runners. The hidden history of Port Lambton, Sombra, and Courtright. Today we're traveling to the shores of the St. Clair River in southwestern Ontario, to 3 communities whose stories are forever tied to iron rails and steam whistles: Port Lambton, Sombra, and Courtright. These are river towns, ferry towns, industrial towns. But for a time, they were also railroad towns, and that changed everything. These quiet towns weren't just shaped by railroads and river trade. They also played a role in one of the most fascinating chapters of North American history, the era of the Rum Runners. In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, railways were more than transportation, they were lifelines. Lines built by companies like the Grand Trunk Railway and later the Canadian National Railway pushed into Lambton County, following the river and linking small communities to major markets like Sarnia, London, and Detroit. For Port Lambton, Sombra, and Courtright, the railroad didn't replace the river, but it certainly enhanced it. Port Lambton was already a bustling river port, shipping grain and lumber, coal, and farm goods across the St. Clair River. When the railroad arrived, it connected farmers and merchants directly to inland markets. Grain that once moved slowly by wagon could now reach elevators, mills, and ports faster than ever. The station became a hub of activity: farmers shipping crops, supplies arriving for local businesses, passengers heading to Sarnia or beyond. The railroad helped Port Lambton thrive as a gateway community, one foot on the river and the other on the rails. Sombra's economy was rooted in the land: rich soil, hard-working families, and strong agricultural output. The railroad transformed farming here. Livestock could be shipped quickly, grain reached wider markets, equipment and supplies arrived affordably. What once took days by wagon could now happen within hours. The station wasn't just a stop. It was a meeting place, a news center, and a symbol of connection to the outside world. For Sombra, the railroad meant opportunity as well as stability. Courtright's story is one of industry and energy. With the growth of oil refining and heavy industry along the river, the railroad became essential. Rails moved petroleum products, industrial equipment, even workers to and from jobs. The railroad supported Courtright's rise as an industrial center, linking river shipping, rail transport, and later pipelines into one powerful network. Without the railroad, Courtright's industrial growth simply wouldn't have been possible at the scale that it reaches. The stations of these small riverfront towns became hubs of freight, passengers, and information. But when the rails met the river, they created something even more powerful. The St. Clair River became a smuggler's highway. You see, in the 1920s, the United States entered Prohibition. Canada did not. Suddenly, the St. Clair River became one of the busiest liquor smuggling routes in North America. From whiskey to rum and beer, all these crossed the river under cover of darkness, in fast boats, fishing vessels, and sometimes right under the nose of the authorities. And once the liquor reached the Canadian shore, the railroad took over. And so Port Lambton went from grain to glasses. It was perfectly positioned. River access, rail access, warehouses and docks. Alcohol arriving by boat could quickly be transferred to rail cars and shipped inland, or stored until the right moment. Local knowledge of the river, combined with rail schedules, made Port Lambton a very ideal transfer point. What once moved wheat and coal now quietly moved crates, marked with a very different content. Sombra, known as a quiet town, had busy nights. Sombra may have looked quiet, like a quiet farming community by day, but by night, activity increased. Rum runners relied on the remote landings, friendly barns and storage sites, rail sidings that didn't attract attention. The railroad allowed liquor to disappear inland almost as quickly as it arrived, bound for the cities, where speakeasies were always thirsty. For some families, rum running money helped farms survive during the hard times. In Courtright, there was industry, rail, and cover. Courtright's growing industrial presence provided a perfect cover. Trains moving oil products, equipment, and materials blended easily with other shipments. Rail activity was constant, and that made it easier for illicit cargo to move unnoticed. Industry, river traffic, and rail lines formed a network that rum runners exploited with great precision. Did authorities know what was happening? Some say they did, but stopping it was another matter. The river was wide, the nights were dark. The trains ran on schedule, and rum runners used fast boats, hidden compartments, coordinated rail pickups. It was a dangerous game. There were arrests, chases, and even violence. But for over a decade, the trade continued. Prohibition ended in 1933, and with it, the golden age of the rum runners. Not long after, rail service in many small towns declined as trucks took over. The stations went quiet, the docks emptied. Oh, but the stories remain. Like many small town rail lines, service eventually declined. Trucks replaced freight cars, passenger trains disappeared, but the impact of the railroad remains. Town layouts shaped by tracks, businesses that grew because of rail access, families whose livelihoods depend on the line, and secret stories. Even today, former rail corridors serve as trails, reminding of a time when the whistle meant progress, connection, and promise. Port Lambton, Sombra, Courtright. 3 communities, 1 river, 1 railroad legacy. By day, honest work, farms, factories, and freight. By night, fast boats, hidden cargo, and rails leading inland. The trains may be gone, but the echoes of steam whistles, river engines, and whispered deals still linger along the St. Clair. Hey, thanks for joining us on Welcome to the Station. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe. And hey, look forward to you joining us on our next stop.